Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today's video is a bit different than our usual videos. Today we'll be discussing the commander brackets that were recently announced. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. I've posted a link to the original article over on wizards.com from Gavin Verhey. Two things before we get into the nitty-gritty. One, I'm a fan of these changes, and two, we're in beta, which means Gavin and the rest of the Commander format panel is open to hearing feedback. That doesn't give you permission to be a jerk, of course, but it does mean that if you think certain cards should be banned, unbanned, or added to the Game Changers list, feel free to reach out to them. But before we get to the rest of the video, a quick word from our sponsor, Ultimate Guard. One of my favorite products Ultimate Guard has is their Xenoskin Sidewinder. The Sidewinder has a soft microfiber lining as well as the rugged Xenoskin shell we've all come to love. While the Sidewinder isn't a new product, they are now available in the limited Bloomborough print, like the Lumra one seen here. Find it if your local game store carries Ultimate Guard products, or click the link down below to order yourself one from Amazon. I'm not going to read the article word for word, but I did want to cover the basics of what the announcement went over. First of all, there are 5 brackets, similar to the 1 to 10 power scale that the Command Zone created many years ago. Bracket 1 is Exhibition. These are the ultra-casual commander decks. The primary goal isn't to win, it's to show off something strange and unusual. Decks built around specific art styles. Decks with silly themes. Group hug decks with no win condition other than ensuring everyone has fun. Maybe a bit of silliness or some light chaos. We're not running mass land denial, there are no 2-card infinite combos, nothing from the Game Changers list, and a few tutors. Oh, when I say tutors, I mean non-land tutors. So fetch lands are perfectly fine to run, but demonic tutor isn't. Don't worry, we'll cover this more later. We'll also want to talk about mass land denial as well. Bracket 2 is Core. This is where most modern pre-constructed commander decks are. Your deck might not be fully optimized. Maybe it's a budget deck that you're trying out. You have the potential for big splashy turns, but those are based more on luck of the draw rather than careful planning. Flavor is more important than focus. Similar restrictions to the previous level. No 2-card infinite combos, no chaining extra turn spells together, no mass land denial, no game changers, and few, if any, tutors. But wait, Danon, that means you can have extra turn spells, you just can't have multiple in a row? Correct, dear viewer. But how does one chain extra turns together? Well, you could activate Kefnet the Mindful to return Mystic Sanctuary to your hand, play Mystic Sanctuary to return Time Warp to your hand, cast it to take an extra turn, then repeat that process every turn until you finished beating all of your opponents to death with Kefnet. But you didn't hear that from me. Also, your deck wouldn't be a 2 anymore if you did that. Bracket 3 is Upgraded. Most of the decks on this channel are 3s, other than the budget videos. You've carefully selected your cards, and you tend to pick power over flavor, but not always. Maybe you have a deck that is silly in concept, but you have powerful cards to help pull off your 4-card combo that exiles everyone's libraries, along with a couple of tutors to find those combos. You can run up to 3 Game Changers cards in an upgraded deck, but you still shouldn't be running any mass land denial or chaining together extra turns. That being said, you can run some 2-card infinite combos, but you shouldn't be doing that in the early game. In other words, Niv Mizzet Perun with Curiosity would be fine at this level, as that combo requires 7 colored mana, so not even Sol Ring can help you ramp to it. Bracket 4 is Optimized. There are no restrictions other than the Commander ban list. Play your strongest cards, your nastiest combos, your meanest stacks pieces, and all the tutors to find your game-ending cards. You know the commander deck you've had for years that you've slowly upgraded over time? The one you spent hundreds of dollars on a dual land for? The one deck in your collection that when a new set comes out and you scour through the entire set and there are no cards good enough to put into it? That is an optimized deck. But it is not the highest number. Bracket 5 is CEDH. These decks are high power with a focus on the meta. These might not be your favorite decks, but you build the deck not only to win, you make choices on how you play the game. You understand that your opponent didn't counter your combo to spite you because they too are trying to win. Threat assessment is valued higher than strange and unique combos. Knowing when to drop a Force of Will becomes key to victory. This is Commander at the highest level of play. If you don't know the difference between an optimized deck and a CEDH deck, ask yourself this. Is Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora a better card in your deck? I've seen people draw 10 cards in a single turn cycle off of Mystic Remora, but only at a CEDH table. Another question to ask yourself is, do I run Return to Nature or Nature's Claim? If you're worried about your opponent gaining 4 life, you're playing optimized, not CEDH. Now, let's discuss Game Changers. These are what excites me most about this announcement. Game Changers are cards that warp the format. Powerful stacks pieces, huge card advantage, or insane ramp. These are the cards that shouldn't see play at lower powered tables, but are just fine at high powered ones. Now, for Bracket 3 upgraded, you can run up to 3 of these. A little bit of stacks is fine at any level, and some tutors are just fine as well, just not the strongest tutors. Let's look at the Game Changers and discuss why they should be on this list. Enlightened Tutor, Mystical Tutor, Demonic Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Imperial Seal, and Survival of the Fittest are the strongest tutors in Commander. I've won games with just about all of these. Tutors give a huge advantage and allow you to find either the perfect answer to stop your opponents, or to win the game on the spot. But Commander would suck if these were banned, at least at higher levels. Having these on the list makes perfect sense to me. Next up, we've got Drannith Magistrate, Opposition Agent, Trinisphere, Glacial Chasm, and the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. These are game-warping stacks pieces that basically bring the game to a halt. Drannith Magistrate stops your opponents from casting their commander, so until they have a piece of spot removal in their hand, since most commander decks are built around their commander, all of your opponents are locked down. Chrome Mox, Grim Monolith, Mox Diamond, Mana Vault, and Ancient Tomb all represent fast mana pieces. We've seen games run away when someone ramps harder than anyone else. Prior to their bannings, Jeweled Lotus, Dockside Extortionist, and Mana Crypt would also be on this list. Smothering Tithe, Trouble in Pairs, Rhystic Study, The One Ring, Jessica's Will, and Bolus's Citadel all provide overwhelming value that can snowball out of control. Sure, Smothering Tithe by itself is a stacks piece that slows the game down for our opponents and forces them to pay for their card draws. But have you ever cast a wheel or two when you have a Smothering Tithe on board? The game's basically over at that point. Vorinclex Voice of Hunger is an extension of the mana denial restriction, and is here as an example. Earlier in the article, Gavin explained what he meant by mass land denial. While not necessarily mass land destruction, Winter Orb and Blood Moon are both powerful stacks pieces designed to stall the game out. Sure, you can build around them, but if your opponents don't know they're coming, you can easily lock out a game. Vorinclex is in the same category. Lion's Eye Diamond, Underworld Breach, and Ad Nauseam are all combo enablers that allow you to win the game, usually through very long, very boring turns for your opponents. Seriously folks, if you're gonna win quickly and decisively. Brutal efficiency is far more preferable than being bored to tears watching someone take an hour to complete a turn. Gaia's Cradle and Sarah's Sanctum should be pretty obvious. Both of these are capable of producing an absurd amount of mana. Thassa's Oracle is in a world of its own as far as game-ending combos. Now, I normally run Thassa's Oracle in Izzet decks where I'm trying to draw through my library via wheel effects or big X spells rather than winning via Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pack. Sure, people aren't happy to lose the game to a Labman effect, but it is a lot more fair to spend several turns digging through your deck rather than simply exiling your whole library with the Thoracle effect on the stack. Cyclonic Rift is another card in its own category. Asymmetrical board wipes are already powerful enough, but when you make it instant speed and allow the card to bounce non-land permanents, it gets ridiculous. Expropriate is game-breaking. You take at least one extra turn and steal up to 3 permanents. Doesn't matter how expensive the mana cost is on the card, it is very strong. Jin-Gataxia's Core Augur is one of the best creatures to cheat out or reanimate, and is one of the best cards at ensuring fun in a game of Commander is zero sum. In other words, if my opponents are having no fun, that means I'm having all the fun. Next up are free counterspells, Fierce Guardianship and Force of Will. With these, you can tap out and cast your combo while still having the ability to stop your opponents from interfering. Yes, there are other free counterspells, but they're limited. Force of Will does cause you to be down a card, but if you're about to win the game anyway, who cares? And Fierce Guardianship, you just need your commander on board. Meanwhile, Force Negation, while powerful, can only be free during an opponent's turn. Add to the fact that it can only counter non-creature spells, it means it has some fair restrictions on it. Finally, the legendary creatures that were added to the Game Changers list. Keenan, Bonder Prodigy, Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, Winona, Joiner of Forces, Grand Arbiter Augustin IV, and Urza, Lord High Artificer. Gavin mentioned how everyone at WotC wanted to be very careful when it came to restricting legendary creatures. But let's be honest here. There is no such thing as a casual Urza deck. To be honest, I'm surprised Kalia wasn't on the list, but I do agree with the rest of them. Now, some of you are wondering why Sol Ring wasn't included. That's because Sol Ring is iconic. Sol Ring is Commander. The entire format was envisioned with Sol Ring in mind. Every few months, someone starts a discussion about how it's too powerful and needs a banning, and I have to roll my eyes again. Thank you, Gavin, for including this in the discussion and shutting down people's complaints. But what about Stasis or Static Orb or Shield of the Apocalypse? Stasis and Static Orb fall under the mass land denial category. Basically, any cards or effects that prevent you from untapping your lands or blows them all up automatically moves your deck to a 4. But Shield of the Apocalypse? Even though she's a $90 magic card, all she does is drain you when you draw. By herself, she's not that scary of a creature, just like Narset Parter Avails. By herself, she isn't that bad. It's only when she's combined with wheel effects that she gets nasty. Now remember, this is still in beta. There is room to improve things, and room to break things. As Magic players, many of us enjoy trying to break the system. Build as powerful a deck as possible while not breaking any of the rules. Personally, I'm a fan of exponential combos instead of infinite combos, winning the game with Lightning Bolt, for example. You're more than welcome to comment your thoughts down below, but if you want to add things to the Game Changers list or suggest cards to be unbanned, reach out to Gavin and the rest of the people in the Commander Format panel. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor CuteStuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Dana. You can have a video made or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. I also want to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgi, Nazwin, Conga, Aaron, Chris, Robert, William Pye, Kazaris, Booksu, Patrick, Naffy, Noodle, Tiz, Art, Richard, Devin, Sint, Boomy, Freya, Jackie, and Finn. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Dana.